Hey team, Katie here from Equestrian Movement, and today we're going to do some of our relaxation work with Sully. So Sarah's going to demonstrate so that we can pick up on all the mistakes that she makes. Yep. Mistake number one, she doesn't know where the gate to the paddock is. So Sully, you will have seen some of the trainings that we've shared with her with backing her. She has come to live with us now, which is very exciting. She's only been here a week, so she hasn't settled into her environment properly, and she hasn't been up. She's only been up to the barn and the arena once. So we're going to get Sarah to demonstrate that co-regulation of working with a horse that's a bit anxious, and especially Sully being a highly strung Arab, she gives great cues for that anxiousness and fear. And she's so cute. So Sarah's just come in and Sully's come over to approach. So we're seeing a little bit of our seeking connection work here as well. Sarah's inviting Sully to connect, and Sully didn't receive the invitation. Which is fine. Sully doesn't know Sarah at all. So that is completely normal for, them to come over and be curious about us, but to not actually take that connection. So that is an ongoing process that we're working on with our horses, is developing relationship and rapport. When we seek to connect, they engage with us. So you can see here where Sully's walked off, Sarah's done a nice job of approaching her. She's caught her by running the lead over her neck first, and Sully accepted that catch by rubbing her head and face on Sarah, so she's open to doing some work together. But you can already see, Sully isn't going to have a lot of trust and confidence in Sarah just yet because she doesn't know her, and so that's why we do all of that seeking connection work, is building the relationship where the horse is going to actively engage with trust and confidence and take the lead from us. And so that's what we're trying to do in the initial stages of our holistic horse handling, is we're building rapport with the horse where they have trust and confidence in what we're doing and what we're going to ask them to do. So although Sully doesn't have trust and confidence in Sarah because she doesn't know her, she has trust and confidence in the process of what's expected of her. So Sarah's been able to catch her and hold her. You can see where Sully's holding a little bit of tension and high head carriage, but Sully knows how to do the check-ins, Sarah knows how to do the check-ins. So we're looking at quite a superficial but confident initial conversation. Sully also knows all of her walk when I walk, stop when I stop, back when I back, so she knows how to work in hand. Sarah knows all of her relaxation work, so she knows how to offer that co-regulated space to Sully to build her confidence and trust in her. And so that's the purpose of doing those initial exercises, even though they can feel incredibly boring and trying to just stand and watch for relaxation. It builds the confidence in how to engage with each other. So you can see where Sully is alert of her environment and wary, and she's lost a bit of that matching steps quality of compassionate leadership of walk when I walk, stop when I stop, back when I back. And Sarah has been given the instruction of try and get her into adventure mode to get her up to the barn without getting too much flighty anxiety. And to just be doing those check-ins with her. So when we get our horse into adventure mode, their focus can get too far into adventure mode, and then we're going to lose the quality of connection with regards to the quality of our in-hand work with the leading. So we want to pay attention to, if she's getting anxious, shifting into curiosity builds the confidence to investigate the environment, the adventure mode. Sully's had lots of practice with that part as well. and Sarah's had quite a bit of practice as well. And then the goal is just when you lose that attention a little bit, is that you can call her back onto you. So Sarah's giving her the invitation to investigate all of the things that are in the paddock on the way up to the barn. And this, this doesn't look particularly exciting, right? It's not very dramatic. There's not a whole lot going on, which is the goal. Sully can quite often, being an Arab, just run around like a kite on a string. And so having this, relaxed, engaged, curious horse is what we're looking for. We don't need her running around like a kite on a string, being super anxious, not being able to have a conversation with her. So adventure mode looks like when Sully has her head down and she's sniffing her environment and looking around. There's the check-in that we're looking for. So Sully's lost a little bit of focus on Sarah, and to check out her environment, got the check-in, which is perfect, got the relaxation cue back into adventure mode. And so we're just cycling in and out. So as Sarah gets more into adventure mode, she's going to lose Sully's focus and attention on her. And so Sarah's just going to give that little check-in. Hey, that's too far. Come back to me. Reconnect. How do we reconnect? It'll be hard for Sarah to find because she doesn't know her. One of the fun things about Sully is that she gets itch, so the best way to connect with her is to scratch her itchy spots, which Sarah is trying to do but can't do very well through a rug. So back into adventure mode, curiously investigating her environment. Remember our confidence through curiosity for our anxious, fearful horses. It's a lovely invitation. So, this is where we're really considering our adjustable goalposts, in that if your goal was to go straight up to the arena and get the horse into the barn, then you would miss all of these opportunities to connect. And that's what we tend to do, is we tend to think that training happens in the arena and everything outside of the arena is just getting your horse to the arena and back to the yard. So you want to think about every engagement, every interaction with your horse is an opportunity to shape what you want that relationship to look like. And what we're looking for is relaxed connection, which means, and that's a beautiful relaxation cue there, which means that sometimes we are doing what the horse wants to do, and sometimes we're asking the horse to do what we want them to do. So a really good saying is, first you go with the horse, then the horse goes with you, then we go together. And that's what we're trying to achieve, is we're trying to achieve team. If we're constantly punishing the horse for what it's doing, if it's doing everything wrong, then we're not going to build team. And that's our submission-based power overtraining. Doesn't build team. It doesn't build a horse that has confidence and trust in us. It doesn't build a horse that wants to look after us. It builds a horse that's scared to do the wrong thing. And so when we're doing this work, yes, we do need to have the skills, and Sully needs to have the skills as well. She spent a lot of time doing her relaxation work, her fist bump work, her adventure work. So that's part of why this is all going so well for Sarah right now, is that Sully also has done the work. But the other part is that Sarah has the skills to do the in-hand work with Sully that she needs as well, to give her the confidence in Sarah. And that's our compassionate leadership skills, right? It's the practical application of all of those, individual lesson plans that we're practicing. So Sarah's implementing that seeking connection, follow my feet cue to invite Sully to reconnect and focus on her and follow her lead again. Sarah gives a couple of exaggerated body language cues there with her feet, just to cue Sully in. The further she gets away from the paddock, the less she wants to adventure away from the paddock. So she feels safe in her paddock and not so safe in this new environment. Sully is showing some really nice relaxation work, and also you know, watching Sarah, how she gives Sully space to tell her when she's ready. It's a really important part of our training. Is quite often we're, you know, doing those linked behaviors really quickly, trying to get the horse to do what we want it to do. We're going to ask it to do something and then give it space to respond. And we're also going to give them the invitation to tell us when they're ready as well. So Sully's giving Sarah the invitation that she's ready to keep exploring. Sarah takes that invitation and she's following Sully in her adventure mode. And then if Sully gets too disconnected in her adventure mode, Sarah's going to do a little check-in and call her focus and her attention back to her. Perfect. Perfect, Sarah. Doing such a good job. So another thing that you want to think about is how are you going to call your horse's focus and attention onto you. So we can use negative reinforcement where we've got that little halter check. That is particularly beneficial when you don't know the horse too well. So if we brought the treats in, you don't really know how the horse is going to respond and if they're going to be super distracted trying to get the treats. So having options is part of holistic horse handling, right? It's like, today we're going to do without treats because we want to assess if it's going to go well in the first place, and we're not going to distract the horse with excessive treat training. But if we wanted to work on a particular thing where we were excessively losing Sully's focus and attention, we were she was getting too heightened and hypervigilant, we wanted to work on a specific cue, shape a specific behavior, then we could bring the treats in. So you want to have the options that you can comfortably and flexibly move from negative reinforcement tools to positive reinforcement tools and establish what that training session is going to look like just from experiencing it. What does the horse need to succeed right now? So Sarah is letting Sully take the lead on a lot of this, which is perfect. That's what we're looking for in adventure mode, is the horses to just go and look at the things that, maybe the things that they're scared of, or just, smelling their environment, building their confidence within their new environment. So Sarah's doing a really good job of just following Sully's lead in where she wants to look and what she wants to look at. And then just checking back in and reconnecting when she just is, really about to lose Sully's focus and attention, which is what she's doing here again, which is perfect. Also found this has been really helpful doing this, taking Rabbit out to competitions, because he gets anxious when we change the environment, and just putting him into adventure mode and letting him investigate his environment just puts the power back in his hands and helps him build the confidence that he needs to stay relaxed in an unknown environment. Some horses, like Fitty, just do this naturally. They naturally are quite confident and curious and get excited about trail riding or changes of environment, and it makes them very good trail riders. But we can teach it. It doesn't have to be, a natural skill that they have. We have the capacity, if we're happy to, keep repeating and develop the skills, we have the capacity to actually hone in and develop this temperament, I guess, or this way of being in their body with the horses. Letting them have a little pick out on some grass is also great. So that also is incorporating our lesson plan of invite onto the grass and invite off the grass. We can use the invite onto grass to help the horses just self-regulate a little bit into a deeper state of relaxation. And then when we're ready, we're going to invite them off the grass and ask them to continue with the walk. So Sarah was just about to bring Sully's attention onto her there, but Sully has found a good smell, and so it was Sarah's choice to follow her. And then we're going to do a little check-in here because she's getting too far ahead of Sarah. And so what we're doing is training our compassionate leadership skills, where we're setting our expectations of how the horses are working with us in hand. So we don't want them too far ahead of us. Ideally, we also don't want them too far behind us. We don't want to be dragging on their head or pulling on their head to work. A lot of horses really hate us pulling on their head. So we're starting to be able to see the fringes of Sully's comfort zone from her paddock. So she's kind of taking us to fence line boundaries in this side paddock, but she's not taking us further down towards the back of the barn, which is something that we really, we want to be paying attention to, because if our intention for the day was to get her to the barn, hello Sully, and we just went straight to the barn without checking in on her confidence levels and how well she was taking that direction and that instruction, then we would have blown straight over threshold with her, and we would have had the spooky, flighty, anxious horse. And she's showing Sarah that she's appreciating that Sarah's paying this level of attention to her to explore her environment and build her confidence before she stretches the fringes of her comfort zone. And I'm okay with horses rubbing on us. I think that it's a wall that's coming down with regards to the quality of relationship and connection. And it's also okay to tell your horse if they're being too rough in the way that they're rubbing on us. So that is another opportunity for compassionate leadership, where we can set boundaries for how the horses rub on us. If they have an itchy face, then go rub on a tree. But we can use it as a bonding and physical connection exercise as well. So you can see that every time Sarah starts to get further towards the direction that she's heading in right now, Sully keeps bringing her back away from that direction. So that's what we're talking about with the horses, with Sully being at the edge, the fringe of where she feels safe in her comfort zone. There's a nice relaxation cue there. So she's not confident to go further down the back of the paddock here. It's taking her too far away from where she feels safe. Where she feels safe is her paddock. Something has caught Sully's eye, so we've gone into a little bit of freeze alert, orienting her environment. And so Sarah is standing with her. I'm not a good videographer. Is standing with her, waiting for that check back in. And so when they've processed that environmental stimulus, Sully will check back in and say, yep, okay, I'm ready to continue. We know that we've blown that threshold of their confidence, trust, and curiosity when, instead of checking back in, they do a big startle and try to run away, drag us in the opposite direction, take us back to where they feel safe. But there's some nice relaxation there. You can see that she's still trying to tell Sarah that she doesn't feel comfortable going this far, and she's trying to take Sarah back towards the paddock. So, if your goal for today was to hop on and have a ride, you can see where we're already seeing like little fragments of trust and confidence issues just heading towards the barn. And so this would be your focus of settling the horse in before you choose to do anything more with them. You want them to have the trust and confidence, safe, secure and connected within their environment on the ground before we are sitting on their back. So the other thing that we can consider when we're, thinking about how we're going to do things with our horses is that the plan rarely actually goes to plan. And so being flexible in your approach and having different options that you can choose if it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to is pretty important. And so where the initial plan had been to take Sully around the back of the arena up through the barn, she wasn't particularly having any of that. So we have a new option. We can take her through the arena gates instead into the arena. And I think particularly what she's looking at is a goat. I don't know how many goats Sully's seen in her life. And the further we get away from her paddock, the more anxious she is, the more she's stopping, and we're going to start seeing her being a bit pushy and bargy now because we're getting her closer to threshold. Getting a lot more freeze where she's standing on alert and processing her environment. She's coming back into her body quite nicely though without big spooks or startles, so we're still okay. We're still okay?
We're still okay.
She's, when we were in the other part of the paddock, she was seeking that direction from Sully. Sully was seeking that direction from Sarah where she felt a little bit safer. And now as we get further away from where she feels safe, we're starting to stretch that safe, secure and connected in relationship to her environment and her handler. So we're starting to see a little bit more of those behaviors that would suggest that she's less confident with regard to those bigger nudges, pushing Sarah around a little bit, not taking every instruction that Sarah gives her. And so how Sarah shows up for her now is going to really indicate, that's really how we're training, right? Is if we blow this, then we have to come back and build all the confidence and trust back up again. But if we stay within where everybody feels safe and regulated and we're just gently nudging those comfort zones, then we're stretching the comfort zones without doing micro tests. The relationship, this can be a relationship building exercise. So we're just gonna video Sarah taking Sully back to the paddock, because if I know anything about Sully, she has just regulated herself through all of that fear and tension about being in a new environment, and she's probably going to express it as she comes back into her safe zone. So much nicer relaxation here versus in the arena. You can see the difference in the head carriage. The confidence to go and look at different things is increased again. So you can really see the differences between investigating a place that they feel confident to investigate versus investigating an area that they are starting to lose that confidence and that feeling, that felt sense of safety. A lot of the things that she's smelling are poo. So some of it will be duck poo like other animals. There's rabbits and kangaroos and cockatoos and all sorts of animals that poop in these paddocks. I think we've got some foxes that come through as well. I was watching a new documentary series on Netflix last night, or reality TV show, I think it's called Alone, where it's like 10 people get dropped off into the wilderness and that's how long they can survive for. And I was like, damn, I wouldn't have even made a date because they're in the wild with bears and wolves and things, and I just would be too scared to sleep. And you know, you're looking for the tracks and different things to know what's in your area, whereas the horses can smell all of this stuff. They can smell, you know, the foxes, the pigs, the different animals that threaten their safety way before we even know they're here. Like, you know, without finding bones from like hares and things around the paddock, I wouldn't know that there's foxes here. And the horses can smell all of this. So quite often, you know, the horses are telling us these things, but our human senses that are so dulled to our environment don't pick up on it. And so allowing the horse to scent its environment and smell, you know, what the smells are. They can pick up what's on the ground like a dog, and then they're also smelling, you know, what's in the air. And it's not just their scenting, it's also their hearing is very good as well. So they will hear things that we don't hear. I've completely blocked out our traffic noises, but we'll still get like a motorbike that makes a funny noise, or an old car that makes a funny noise when it goes past, and you can see the horses go and pay attention to it momentarily before they check back in. Horses have a very strong survival instinct, and that survival instinct is driven by feeling safe, secure and connected in their environment, in their herd, in themselves, and in their horse-human relationship. I expect Sully to toss her head around a little bit as Sarah takes the halter off, because that's her way as an Arab of letting go of tension. There it is. Oh, you gotta love an Arab. They're so predictable. But it was quite small. So it was like, you know, a bit of tension. Not very much for a Sully version of holding tension though. And she's back with her boyfriend. Tooty toot. Nice little relaxation through releasing tension through her shoulders there. She's got her head back down with her wither, in line with her wither, not up above her wither. It's a pretty clear indication. Oh, her little boyfriend is checking in, seeing if she's okay. And that's where separation anxiety starts. So we need to get those two comfortable with leaving each other and coming back to each other. Her little boyfriend, Bam Bam in particular, is going to have some severe separation anxiety issues because he's been kept in a paddock for 6 years with his paddock mate, and he's had to be moved, and so he's not lived by himself in 6 years, and he's not been without his friend for 6 years, so it's going to take him quite a bit longer to settle in, and you can see where he's insecurely attached and latched on to Sully.